anxietycenter.com.
So I heard your conversation with Marguerite, and then regarding taking medicine.
Yeah.
And then like me, I probably my issue is just like how you first time you got your anxiety too. Like I started with the first panic attack, and then after that, then and first panic attack, I didn't know that it was a first panic attack, and I got so scared, and then it freaks me out that I didn't sleep for one whole week.
Yeah.
So it was started and give me trauma after that, and then it scares me to a point where there's somebody, I feel like something inside me came out and talk on behalf of me, and then there's another side of me that realized that something else is talking. You know what I mean? It becomes like that. Then because of that thing came out to talk, that scared me, and it traumatized me until now. So when that thing came out to talk is when I was like really way too tired and too get too scared, too tired, and too what's that called, like too dehydrated as well.
Yeah.
Because and way too dehydrated, and then I was so weak that the inner side me came out and talked, and then it talks all the, which I don't think that is a good thing, and I still believe that the thing that came out to talk me is the anxiety part of me, that talk, but it still come like bother me until now. And then but since then I had like because I didn't sleep for one whole week.
Yeah.
It happens 2 years ago, and then and I start have a foggy brain and foggy body.
Sure.
And then I keep on googling because I didn't know what is that.
Yeah.
So I keep looking for answer, and then I go many doctor and tests and everything, and they can't find me anything. All they say that is that I had a panic attack.
Yeah.
And then I went to ER as well, and then like for 2 times, and then the most recent one I just had it a few weeks ago. And then after that, I sometimes I do have like a spinning sensation, like I lose my balance when I walk.
Yeah.
And then I also feels like there's a hello, Jim.
Yeah. I can hear you.
Yeah. So I feels like there's like when I sleep, I do feel like a soury taste too as well. And then sometimes I do smell some things that actually is not the smell, the source is not here.
Yeah.
But I smell of something funny, like it happens long ago. Like let's say I ate like a spicy shrimp, or I smell of like a trash can that is like a smelly trash can, and that bothers me.
Yeah.
That long time ago I smell it, and then but right now there's no smelly trash can, but I still feel that smelly trash can came out from me, from inside me, something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So that bothers me too. And then and I don't know why every time I came back from, if I go outside, my body calm down. But when I come back home, my body start to have a lot of sensations. So I start to go to the doctor again, and this time because I have a hard time walking, and when every time I walk and or sit upright, my body feel pain, a lot of pain, and then and it makes me become like have a bad body posture, and then I started to go to a pain specialist, and then they start to assign me to a neurologist, and then to psychiatrist, to many doctors, to check here and there.
Yeah.
And even to MRI for the nerve spin or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I haven't completed, and I make appointment with the gastroenterologist and then the ENT as well, but I haven't get the chance to go yet. But the pain specialist already prescribed me a Cymbalta.
Mm-hmm.
So, but until now, no matter how I go to the doctor gave me Prozac. Like three doctors gave me Prozac, and one it's not Prozac. I mean Zoloft. But I didn't dare to take it until now. So I keep on reading your website. That's all I do, and read my Bibles.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then because I don't believe in medication, and
Yeah.
then so. And then this Cymbalta too. Until now, they said, take it and then come back to me to see me a week later and a month later after all the tests come back and everything. And then I went the last time I went ER. They checked everything. It said normal, except that they said maybe it's only a maybe that I had an inflammation on my tummy, but I don't think I have inflammation on my tummy, because every time I got nervous, my tummy contracted,
Yeah.
and get more pain. So until now, I don't dare to eat the Cymbalta. And then, so I would like to ask for your suggestion. What is better for me in this case to get even better? Because I really believe in you, that that's why I keep reading and reading anxiety center, and then whatever you thought and you wrote that all makes sense to me more than the doctor, actually. So, and it actually in line with my belief as well, because I'm a Buddhist, but I used to be a Christian as well. But the teaching is mostly about the same, right? It's about like I was taught to have like always have a righteous thought, and then whatever you say and whatever you, according to what my understanding is you have to always have a righteous thought, and then have whatever you say have to be positive, whatever you do have to be positive, you know what I mean? So I leave my belief on that, and according to what my belief is that if you have like a human being, you're not supposed to have a sickness. We are healthy, so whatever funny things that you feel is actually is a good thing. So you know so so just don't believe in those kind of if you take medicine actually is getting more worse, something like that. So that's why I don't dare to eat medicine. But sometimes I can't really stand it no more. I take one or two, and then that's it. And then this one, my mom keeps saying, "You're not consistent with your healing." It's like if you keep going to doctor, many doctors, but the doctor asks you to eat this medicine, that medicine, you never eat it. So I have a whole bunch of medicines like Zoloft, Meclizine, and for BPPV, for Ferigo, for everything, but I didn't eat any of those. And then because I don't believe those are the real cause, I believe that is anxiety and the panic is all is the main cause. So that's why I keep reading your website.
Yeah.
But some of them, because you write so much, you explain so many, some because English is not my primary language as well. Sometimes I had a hard time understanding really to the main meaning of what I should do. So sometimes I get confused, like what I should do, the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your comments. Just based on our brief conversation, you definitely have some underlying factors at play that's driving your anxiety. And that anxiety is driving the stress in your body, and that stress is creating symptoms.
Yes.
Right. So that's the mechanism. And so how does a person recover? Well, if we just want to get rid of symptoms, all we have to do is reduce our stress and give the body time to catch up. That's really it. But when we have anxiety underlying factors, those factors keep the body stressed, and that's the challenge. That's why we're big proponents of going after both levels of recovery, because stress reduction is easy, but the problem is that our behaviors keep stressing the body. So we don't ever give the body the sufficient time that it needs to recover to get rid of symptoms. Or if we do, it's a matter of we're just right back into them again the minute we start resuming our normal life because the behaviors haven't changed, and that's the problem. So what I'd suggest, if you really want to get through this and get rid of your symptoms, and if you want to do it medication-free, which is, I'm an advocate of doing that, psychotropic medications can help some people at certain times, but they don't have a good track record, and a lot of times it makes people worse, and then they're multiple medicated, and down the road, you've got a real big mess to clean up. So if you're not taking them now, or if you're taking them here and there, not regularly, I'd really, number one, work on your underlying factors. If you can afford to connect with a therapist and help you identify what those are so you can work at those while you're working at your stress reduction so that your body can recover. Because it's going to be really tough if you're just working on physical recovery but not doing the behavioral work, because again, that's where our stress comes from. So in your case, just because I'm noticing a few things in there that would be really helpful for you to work on, that would be the approach I would recommend. Work with a therapist, and then work at level 1 recovery at the same time, and then give your body time to catch up.
Yeah, I tried therapies. I tried like four therapies already, and I went after I talked to them for so long, and then like maybe 2 months, they still can't figure out what happened to me. So I keep canceling those therapists, and I still couldn't find a really good therapist that suit me, that I think that he knows what he's doing or something like that.
Have you tried connecting with one of ours?
I spoke with Marie Billion,
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had like 2 sessions because you guys didn't accept insurance,
Right.
and then I talked to her like 2 times.
Yeah.
And then so I couldn't really afford it too.
Gotcha.
So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, so but basically I think she's okay. But she did try to help me to correct my unhealthy behavior.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So but I just couldn't afford, like every time I
Yeah.
have to pay $100.
I know.
Like so that's why.
And 2 sessions won't get you very far at all. Is the problem. I know, and that's the thing, because our behaviors are so ingrained in us. It takes a long time for us to really, one of the things that I had trouble with is really understanding that I actually had these, because I thought, I was, behaving okay. I didn't have any problem. If I just got rid of my symptoms, I'd be good. I thought, well, wow. When I started digging into my underlying factors, I was shocked as to how many I had and why I was anxious. And so it just takes time to, first off, uncover them.
That with the help of a therapist to figure the underlying factors?
Actually, no, I didn't. The therapist I worked with at the beginning, a psychologist, I met with him about 2 or 3 times. The thing he helped me with most was the patient side of recovery. I think, 2 things he helped me with a lot. One, he said, you know what? He said, first off, it's going to take your body a long time to recover. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I was doing everything I thought I could, and here I am 3 months in and still nothing happened. So I was just getting impatient. He said, well, you know what? You have to give it way more time than that. So that was very helpful. And the second thing he helped me with is he did a personality profile on me, and he looked at my life and says, you know what, Jim, you're a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. You're not going to make it. And that really helped me understand I was in the wrong place in my life, not living authentically. It's no wonder my stress was through the roof. And so at that point, that alerted me to that I had underlying factors. Now, from that point on, I did my own work, because at that time, I couldn't find anybody. I went to 2 psychiatrists, and they were less than helpful. And I thought, wow, where am I supposed to get this help? So for me, a lot of the work was self-discovery, understanding anxiety more, what causes anxiety. A lot of that helped me to tweak into what the underlying factors were. And then when I discovered them or worked on them, then when I became a Christian, the Holy Spirit helped me to work on the rest of them. I still have some work to do. I'm certainly not perfect by any stretch. I still have behaviors that kick up a fuss that I have to go after. But finding people to first off assess you is important. That's why our therapists have that assessment tool. I'm not sure if Marie used it on you, but I highly recommend it, because within 2 or 3 sessions, you know what your underlying factors are. and you know the mix and you know the degree, and then you set a course in terms of how to address them. Because if you don't have that, if you don't know where you're going, you can spend a lot of time, moving in the wrong place and not really going after the things that are important. The other thing that therapy is really helpful for, it helps us understand how we got these behaviors and why we need to change them. And I didn't understand this right at the beginning when I first discovered them. When I started looking back at how I got them, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. This is where that came from. And this is the belief system that I developed from that experience. Well, it's no wonder I behave this way now. That was really important to me. And our therapist can help you dig those up. Now, again, the unfortunate part is it takes time. And we really realize that, it's expensive to go through therapy. We get that. Our therapists are charging probably way less than half of what normal therapists charge, but they want to help people. But in order for them to be therapists, they have to make a living. And so a lot of our therapists are living as frugally as possible, but it still costs money. That's just the reality. I wish there were insurance plans that covered more than 2 or 3 sessions, because some of the insurance companies, they say, well, we'll cover your therapy sessions. Here's 6 sessions, you're good. It's like, you can't get much done in 6 sessions. You're just starting, never mind working through things. So,
Oh, I do have insurance that cover unlimited time, but then it's I live in United States. I don't know if you guys accept the insurance.
We do have therapists in the U.S. who do accept insurance. Depends on where you live, and there are some U.S. insurance companies that do pay for Canadian therapists. So it just depends on your insurance company. You would have to ask them what they would cover. But yeah, I am a big fan of underlying factor work, because that is where our behaviors come from. It's the belief systems we develop through our childhood that then set us on the course to behave anxiously. And unless we go after those belief systems, it's really difficult to change the behaviors. Because I'll just give you an example. If we're a people pleaser, we might understand that we have to change people pleasing behavior. But if we have a belief system that says, we should be making people happy, we shouldn't upset them, we should be meeting their expectations, you see, it's almost impossible to change that behavior, because our belief system is telling us something contrary to what we want to do. So we have to go in and change the belief system first off, and we do that through boundaries and personal responsibility. Because once we change the belief system, it's way easier to change the behavior, because now our belief system is agreeing with the healthy behavior. So that's why it's so important. And everybody's different. Everyone has a different set and mix of underlying factors and different reasons they're there. But we've identified, essentially all of the main underlying factors, and a lot of people have them, and they're usually in the topper ranges. And that's why we go after the belief systems, change the behaviors. When we change the behaviors, stress comes down. As stress comes down, the body gets better. So it's a cause and effect, as we say at the website. Anxiety is caused by certain things. Anxiety causes stress. Stress causes symptoms. If you go after the cause, you'll eliminate the stress, which eliminates the symptoms. It's just kind of a chain of events. So, but it's work. And I know some of our materials might come off as we're preachy or putting the personal responsibility on the person, but we do that because, we developed our behaviors because of the circumstances we grew up with. That's true. And in a lot of cases, we had no choice. That was the environment we grew up in, and those are the conclusions we made. But if we want to get better, we have to do the work. No one else is going to do it for us. So it's our responsibility to make that change if we want to make it. The good news is we can if we're willing to work at it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I so.
But also, Jim, taking responsibility for your own anxiety can be very freeing and very empowering.
It sure can. There's a lot of people who take offense to that, though. And they do because of their background.
Initially, because they just feel so bad. But if they'll let that process happen, it can be very freeing and very empowering.
I agree with you 100%. It's just that sometimes people in their backgrounds are in the victim mindset. So if we're saying that, it's your responsibility to get yourself better, they'll take that as an insult rather than recognizing that this is where we have to go to get better. Because as we go to that side, as you say, it's not only freeing, but we live with healthy boundaries. Our relationships are 1,000 times better, and we live authentically. Well, when we do that, there's very little opportunity for anxiety to creep in. But, in order to get people to that place, sometimes it's a lot of work just for them to see that It's not an insult. We're just saying that this is the path forward. And you can free yourself by doing these kinds of things.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Marguerite. I agree with you 100%. It was so freeing for me. It was like someone turned on a great big spotlight. It's like, wow, why didn't I get this earlier?
Why did it take me because relapse after relapse after relapse?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have so many underlying factors, that means you figure out one by one. Then, yeah.
Sometimes, actually, in a lot of cases, they come in clusters. One feeds the other. When you work at one, it kind of solves the other two. And yeah, so it's not like we have to, go through 80 underlying factors one at a time. It's usually we have a top 10 list. That's what our therapists work on. What's the top 10? Then other ones are all associated somewhere. And as you go after those top 3 or 4, all the rest kind of fall like dominoes because they're all related.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll test you and tell you.
Yeah.
The therapist or psychologist?
Our therapist should be doing that as part of their process. Now, keep in mind that the therapists that work at Anxiety Center, they have their own approaches, and they'll approach their clients based on what's the highest need. For example, if a person is really having a hard time focusing and settling and it's all about their symptoms, well, trying to work through the underlying factors is kind of counterproductive to recovery because that's not really the issue at the moment. The issue is getting the body settled and helping them contain themselves and reassuring them that their symptoms are anxiety. It's not a medical condition. But if you do these things, you can get better. So as the person starts to feel better, then the underlying factor works is much easier to do. So it depends on where that person comes in and what's their highest need at the moment.
Oh, how many sessions do you think is enough or for that?
I can't say because it varies from person to person depending on what the
It's
mix
a
of.
long test. It's a long test. I remember.
Yeah, it takes about 2 hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah, it's a long. I remember it's a
That's
long
for
test.
the first initial session is to test.
That's what we recommend. And that's what I used to do because I like to know exactly where I'm going right at the beginning. I don't want to spend time wasting the client's time trying to figure out where things are at over the course of time. So we do this test to know exactly all the factors and where the best places to start. But again, each therapist has a different approach. We recommend that to our recommended therapists, but they decide what their approach is based on the client's highest need.
Then they'll also test your anxiety and tell you where you rate and how long it'll take you to recover. And so I think obviously it's not set in stone, but I think they're really good benchmarks to kind of see where you're at.
I like that.
I didn't have that with Mary Filion.
Yeah, and it's likely because during the conversation, now you must have filled out a background information profile, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So a lot of times that'll tell us a good place to start and where the client's highest need is. I would suspect that with you, it was probably more the symptom side of things. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I think I more worried about my symptoms.
Yeah. And so, if the first couple of sessions, again, it's always nice to settle and reassure the client that, you can do this. You don't have to be concerned about these things. And sometimes a lot of clients will come to us who are really afraid of their mental health, thinking, well, I'm having all these crazy thoughts and these symptoms. Am I going crazy? And so then they come up with the belief system, I must be just on the verge. So a lot of times we'll settle them and reassure them so they can feel calmer. And then we go through the process.
I think my first anxiety started, I think, right, is because of I'm afraid of a certain smell. Like I got so paranoid. There's one time my mom bought a BMW used car, and then that car is leaking oil, and then engine oil, and I tried to fix it to go so many mechanics, and then it just couldn't fix the engine oil. And then every time I have to drive in the freeway and stuck in, with that smell, and it give me like scared and trauma every time I have to think that I have to drive that car. But I have no choice. But if I don't drive that car, I can't get to do all my work. So from then on, then I started to scared of get like smell of a cigarette and perfumes, and then it started going on and on. And then since then, even to a point where my mom put a lotion, I got scared of smell too,
Yeah.
And then even the drying sheet and everything. So since that, after that, I had my first panic attack. I think the first trigger one is the smell, and until now, I try to dare myself every time I smell something, and I will just go ahead and find the source, and I said, where is it?
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah.
for now. And then but again, my symptom is still going on, so I don't know if maybe that have developed into another underlying factors, you know what I mean? But I keep telling myself that, oh, that smell is fine, it just smell, it won't kill me. And then that's, I keep
Mm-hmm.
talking that to myself. But then the symptom seems like it's getting worse and worse each day, so i
Yeah.
i really feel helpless.
Yeah, and again, because where you have become afraid of those smells, there's a reason why those have threatened you, and that'll tie back to an underlying factor. And this is where, again, going through the diagnostic process that we do would really uncover that for the therapist. But again, if your main thing was symptoms and those kind of things, I can see why she would approach it that way first. And typically what happens in the first couple of sessions, it's really just getting acquainted and getting to know each other, seeing how the relationship fit is, and then moving into the questionnaire. So since you only had 2 sessions, it's not surprising you didn't get to that place based on what you've told me
Oh,
so
okay.
far. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we are in the process right now of looking for 3 more therapists, and one is multilingual, so that might be a better fit at some point as well. So just keep watching our website. We'll announce it once that therapist is ready to go. But for different languages, it might be a good fit. She speaks a lot of them, so
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so going back to the negative thoughts you said, and the other thing too is we talked about the negative thoughts, but fearing that you might have this certain disease or whatever is just another common version of those kind of crazy thoughts, as we call them. We call them crazy thoughts because they're just out there, negative thoughts or crazy thoughts or whatever. Now, if you're talking about specifically negative thoughts, where everything's pessimism, well, that's again another underlying factor. Negativity is an underlying factor of anxiety. And we learn to be negative often because of the environment we grow up in. It just becomes our default position. So if we have that as an underlying factor, well, then negative thoughts are going to be the ones that pop up. So again, understanding what that underlying factor is and going after that would eliminate the concern about the negative thoughts as well. And especially about disease, if there's a concern about a disease, there might be a medical sensitivity in there. And I would suspect with you there probably is. Would that be correct?
Yes. I got to a psychiatrist once, and then she says that I probably have a somatic disorder or something like that.
Oh yeah. That's kind of a general term for nervous system, so to speak. So it's not that there's the problem I have with mental health, like psychiatrists, those things, is that they've taken mental health and taken the medical model and tried to build a term that encompasses everything with a symptom set and then treatment. And they've used the medical model because there's a large bias in the medical profession over the years that anxiety and mental health disorders were caused by a biological problem with the brain or chemical problem or whatever. And now it's turned into a genetic problem. And so they're looking for a biological cause for what we do, while the other model is looking for the psychological reasons we do what we do. Our body's exhibiting physical symptoms because of how we're approaching life, not the other way around. In a lot of cases. Now, I'm not saying that's the case all the time, because there are mental health conditions that have the biological cause, but they're in the very, very small minority. So when you go to psychiatrists, they will give you a label. And I have a problem with labels because they're really just subjective terms that they've come up with to try to classify things. But a lot of people will then take that label and say, well, I have this condition, when in fact it's a behavior that's created physical symptoms. So hopefully that'll change over the course of time. I've seen a lot of articles now in the medical journals talking about we need to throw the whole model out because it's not helpful. So hopefully they do that at some point. and for you, you have behaviors that you've learned growing up and belief systems that accompany that drive the behaviors, and those are the ones that are causing the issues with stress. It's also the ones, it's also the ones that are causing the issues with your concern about smells. There's a connection there. So to overcome that, that's a good idea that you are going to challenge yourself and get through that notion, but it would be better if you knew why you had that and why you were challenging it rather than just doing it. So this, again, where having those underlying factors understood would be really helpful as you go and change the messaging you're telling yourself about the smells. So, and that's why how to get better, that's why I'd suggest you do that if you can somehow, or find someone locally who's covered by insurance who will go after those underlying factors and help you understand your behaviors you have, because it'll make the stress reduction process so much easier for you. Because, again, if you don't go after the underlying factors, you're going to always have that stress in your life. And even though you might just, bookend your life off and say, I'm just going to rest now and get better, the minute you stop doing that and you go back to your normal life, those behaviors are just going to cause stress again. So
I tried to go to the psychiatrist. I figured out that all they're trying to say is what you say. They label me, and after that, they also say that I'm hallucination or hallucination. But I think that those hallucination is from because I didn't have enough sleep, and then I didn't have good quality of sleep, and I know that why I didn't have good quality of sleep is because of the anxiety that I'm having. So that's why when they asking me to eat that medicine and say this, I have this somatic in whatever level they give me, I don't believe them, because I don't think that that's the real underlying factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I would agree.
That's why, so I always don't agree, no matter. That's why I only go like 2 psychiatrists, 3 psychiatrists. They only say that, you have a panic disorder, you have whatever disorder. I don't believe it, because I think that the main thing is because of the anxiety, because I didn't sleep enough. And then I didn't have a good sleep because of the anxiety. And if only that I have rested and then I sleep enough, I can really sleep good, then all these things will be gone. So that's what I believe. But the thing is that I will try hard to fight this, like my fear. Like every time if I come across the negative thought, let's say, or like for example the smell that I'm scared of, I will try to dare myself to, okay, that smell is coming, and then I will just like, I just stand still, it means nothing to me, and I just ignore it and something like that. Or sometimes I dare myself to purposely put the smell out, and I dare myself. Or if I know that I scared of something, I will go and dare myself like that again, just dare it. But of course I'm gonna get tense more. And then but every time I do that, but then but I don't know why I still keep getting more symptoms. That's the thing. So
Yeah. Are you a fairly excitable person?
I used to be a very active person. So I have many things going on with my life. And then I am a single mother, and I have one daughter, and then I need to take care of my daughter all by myself. And then like living in the United States, and for me, because it's kind of hard, like, so it's tough life so here. So when I go back to Indonesia, I came from Indonesia, by the way. And then when I go back Indonesia for vacation last time, after I had my panic attack, and then a few months after that I was so weak at that time. And my mom wasn't because I didn't sleep for 1 week, and then I was like, and at that time I didn't know that I was anxious and anxiety. So I keep like worrying. It makes me even worse. So in the end, I just let go of everything. I even let go of taking care of my baby. So I just let my baby, let my mother take care of, handle that. And then my mom was so worried about me. He brought me back to Indonesia, and when she had a business trip. And then so I went there. I just rested at my brother's house for about 3 months. I felt better. I didn't do anything. I didn't think about anything. I didn't even take care of my baby because I have somebody helping me. So I get better. And then when I came back, and then maybe I didn't fully rested until like fully recovered yet. Maybe that's what I thought. Then I came back, and then a lot of thing going on, and then I have to sell my house and looking for houses, and then go to job, and then the job was stressful, and then in the job I was working at Amazon, and then a lot of like different people in there and different perfumes, so and cologne and everything. It stresses me out every time. Every time I smell that perfume and cologne, it scares me, and it keeps scaring me. And then like I moved to a new house. New house has a dog, like the previous owner has a dog. Then I had another thought again. Oh, this has a smell of dog. And then the neighbor always had let the dog like poop at the backyard, and then so a bunch of thought, and then that's why it makes me like every time I come back home, I scared and then always nervous, and then so I at home supposed to be a place for me to relax, but then it becomes a place that actually triggers my anxiety. So when I go outside and do errands, I feel that especially when I'm inside the car, I feel that inside the car I feel so safe, and then I feel that the when I'm driving and I'm inside the car, and then I feel that my body can start relaxing, and then but once I get back home again, it tenses, and then I spend most of the time at home. That's how I think it gets worse and worse.
Sure. Well, if you listen to everything you told me, do you see why your body's really stressed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a body that's under stress like that is going to exhibit symptoms. So, this is where, again, if you can find someone to work with who's covered by insurance, can help you to work through these things so that your place becomes a place of safety and comfort. The majority of your day is in safety and comfort and doing things that you enjoy. That reduces a ton of stress, which then the body will respond to by getting rid of symptoms. And so there isn't like 3 or 4 things you can do to do that, because you have a lot of things going on in your life that all need to be addressed. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. And that's common for a lot of us. I mean, when I look at how my condition first started, I was doing very similar things, lots of things going on, lots of important things. My body was going all the time. And when I was young, I thought, well, I can manage it, no big deal, and just do this, and this is how I live, and these are the thoughts I have. And next thing you know, when my body's presenting symptoms, it's like, what the? And, that I also had medical sensitivity. So when my body started kicking up a fuss, I started imagining the worst, cancer, brain tumor, whatever. And so it just fed everything. And so working through my recovery required me doing a lot of things. And an important part of that was changing my life circumstance. I went from a job that I absolutely hated, and I hated it. I couldn't wait till Friday, and I dreaded Monday because I really did not like what I was doing. And that's when the psychologist told me, you're a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. You're not going to make it, because I was in the wrong place in my life. It wasn't fulfilling. I detested it. The things that I wanted to be fulfilling, I couldn't get to, because all the other things that I didn't enjoy were occupying my life. So a lot of times with anxiety, there's a series of things that need to be worked through in order to get to that place where we're living authentically, have healthy boundaries, really feeling empowered and enjoyment in life, rather than the dread and problem after problem after problem. The thing with humans is that we like to persevere. And sometimes, I should say quite often, we persevere at the wrong things. Well, I should be able to work harder, or I should be able to work longer, or I should be able to do this job, or I should be able, and we push and push and push, and the body's saying, wait a minute, I don't like this. Yet we ignore it. And so if you go to the medical model, they're just going to load you up with medication to make it easier to tolerate the bad things. But that's no way to live, in my opinion. Looking at it from a holistic standpoint, all right, what's wrong with my life? How am I going to change it? Because all of us can make the important changes that can enrich our lives. And sometimes those changes take longer than others. Sometimes we have to work at them for a longer time to get there, but we can still do that. And when I looked at making my life transition from being in my family's business that I hated to going into music career that I loved, It was a really stressful time in my life, but I looked at it as exciting. It wasn't stressful to me. To me, it was a new opportunity, and I was still, being active, but because my mindset had changed, my body changed. So again, that's why I say, sure, we can reduce stress and help the body become symptomatic, but that's really the smallest part of the problem. The biggest part is changing who we are, moving into our authenticness, where we're feeling, enriched and passionate about what we do in our lives. And for you, you have another challenge. You're a single mom raising a little one. That's stressful all by itself, never mind sticking all the other stresses on top. So here again is where a therapist might be able to provide you opportunities and ideas where how you can manage that so you are getting time for yourself. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim, for your advice.
You're welcome. I wish things were different for a lot of us. We certainly don't like, seeing people struggle with anxiety for sure. I mean, that's why we do. But, you look at society, how it's approached, how we live our lives now. Man, I think we've really gone off the rails. And so a lot of people are struggling. That's why the mental health rates are skyrocketing now, is because there's so much that is just wrong with how we approach life. And the good news is, as individuals, we can say, stop, wait a minute, I'm going to change my life. I don't care what the rest of the world is doing, but I'm going to change my life to suit me. And as we move in that direction, have healthy boundaries, life is way easier and far less stressful. We don't have to be doing, stress damage control all the time because we're not incurring that much stress. And so that's what we think recovery is all about, is becoming the person who we are, living a life that's fulfilling and engaging, but yet not stressful. So.
Yeah, I really don't believe on those like psychiatrists, the way they approach things is, and then those doctors is just about like taking medicine and yeah, and then that's why
but what happens when the medicines will work in the short term, but they're not a long-term fix.
Yeah.
Then you need more medicines.
Yeah, or different kinds. Yeah, or multiple kinds.
Then you're on max doses.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that medicine will lead to another disease again,
Yeah.
Like that's why I no matter how painful I feel, and sometimes I feel like fainting, and you name it, a lot of things, and sometimes I feel like choking and everything. All sort of bad thoughts came out, like, oh, you probably have this and that, or you have allergies, or you have you need immediate attention or something like that. Those are my crazy thoughts came out, and then I just say, no, whatever, let it be, and I just go lie down, and then that is that's what so I just force myself not to take medicine no matter what, because I know that's not the main cause.
Yeah, for you, if you can find ways to increase the rest in your life and not to stress about how you're feeling, would be a big start.
But the thing is that I have the problem. I keep telling my mom, if only when I come back home, I don't feel tense and I don't feel nervous and anxious.
Yeah.
And when I sleep as well, I also feel that. Every time when I'm sleeping, let's say I was so afraid of sleeping, because once I sleep, I feel like there's something like chasing me inside me,
Mm-hmm.
which last time I didn't know and didn't understand, but actually it was the feeling of relaxing. So it's like zoom, like something like coming, and then it's like your muscle relaxes. But I didn't know that. I thought there's something like a monster like hunting me from the inside or eating me out. So every time I feel that symptom or sensation, I wake up right away.
Yeah.
So, but right now no matter what kind of symptom, actually the symptom that I feel is worse than the one I had last time. But then because I know it was an anxiety symptom, so I just let it be. And then and I try to focus, like I said, either on my breathing or when I sleep, or either on the feeling of the softness of the bed, or sometimes I try to think of the clock ticking. I try to hear and pay attention to the clock ticking until I fall asleep.
Yeah.
So when I fall asleep, though, you know how like when you fall asleep, it's like from a light sleeper, and then it slowly you feel like your body is dropping and dropping like that.
Yeah.
And then when it drops and everything, every time it drops and then it scares me. Every
Yeah.
time it drops, it scares me.
Yeah.
And then when every time it drops to a much deeper one, then it triggers my panic attack, and
Yeah.
it can feel that the panic attack start going on, and then if I ignore it, it goes away, and then it comes again. So it panic attack, then it goes away. Panic attack. But if sometimes I didn't get the chance to really ignore it, and then it will start to trigger the whole thing, and it become tense all over, and then something like
Yeah.
that. So that triggers me, and it seems that it never gives my body to really fully rest.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the negative consequence of hyperstimulation. When we try to rest, it can send those really strong sensations that then do scare us. So we just, fire more stress hormones on top. As you reduce your stress wherever you can, that dropping feeling will stop, but it takes time for the body to get there.
So it's normal every time that you feel like when your body is dropping like that when you sleep, and then it triggers the anxiety?
When your body's really stressed, yes, it can happen. Some people get really dizzy as they're starting to drift off. It just depends on how your body responds to that finally being able to let go. But then if we respond to that, then we become afraid of sleep, and then we just, get everything going. So the best thing to do is focus on stress reduction, give your body time, and those feelings will subside as the body stress comes down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of things to work on.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. And if you can swing it or manage it or talk with your insurance company, see if they will cover things, I think you'd find it great helpful to work at those things. And just because you work with Marie once doesn't mean you have to continue. We like to make sure that our clients have a good fit with their therapist they're working with.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's common, by the way. You don't have to feel bad if you want to switch.
It will be great if you get accept insurance, but then because I couldn't afford like paying $100 each time, and then every week like $400.
Yep.
So
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you might want to ask your insurance company what they will cover. If they will cover master's degree therapists working at a distance. A lot of them will do that. I mean, we do have people who are covered by insurance. So you need to talk with your insurance company.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.